this heaven?
No. It's Iowa.
All right, Ben, so this is how a podcast works, right? You got a microphone, you plug the microphone into the computer, you hit record, you let it record, and then you listen to it afterwards, you edit it, you go through and change the volume, you fade in, you fade out, you add different features, you have noise cancellation, you mix it, normalize it, you know, there's all these different mechanical scientific theories on how you do a podcast.
It's science versus art as we talk to Fabelmans on the Pod of Dreams.
Movies are dreams that you never forget. Sammy?
To change how everything looks. It's hard to find our house.
Ours is the dark house with no lights.
In this family, it's the scientists versus the artists. Sammy's on my team, takes after me.
What kind of movie are we gonna make?
Dismiss what he does. It's playful or imaginative. You could afford to be a little encouraging.
She should have been a concert piano player. What she got in her heart is what you got.
You can't just love something, you also have to take care of it. It's more important than your hobby.
Can you stop calling it a hobby?
Mom got a monkey.
Why'd you get a monkey?
Because I needed a laugh.
You always have to be the center of attention.
Stop shouting at her!
That has been nothing but disrespect from you. I'm your mother!
Family, art. It'll tear you in two.
You stop making movies, it'll break your mother's heart.
I don't know what to do anymore.
You do what your heart says you have to.
What was your favorite part?
Okay, welcome everybody to the Pod of Dreams. If you listen, we will pod. Ben and Eric here. We are done with our favorite movies. We're just jumping back to our old format of picking random ass movies and talking about them. I picked The Fabelmans this week, and the reason I picked it was we're getting close to the Academy Awards. I think when you listen to this, it'll be close to the Oscar ceremony. And The Fabelmans is nominated for Best Picture, and I wanted to check it out and see what I thought. So, yeah, that's what we're doing here today, Ben.
I don't get to see a lot of movies because life is filled with little kids, and getting out of the house is difficult. So I was happy to have an excuse to watch Spielberg's latest as well. I don't think it was at the very top of my want-to-watch list, but it was on there for sure. So I'm excited.
Why is that? It's just the... You know, I have to say, there's this wave of movies that has come out in the last year and a half, where it's like the famed director makes a movie about why they like movies. It's like a whole genre that's come out. And I know a lot of it has to do with like COVID and like people thinking the end of the world is coming. I'm not disagreeing with you, Eric.
Can you give me some examples? I'm not challenging you.
James Gray made a movie called Armageddon Time, which is like about... you know, his childhood. Sam Mendes made a movie called Empire of Light, which is like why he likes movies, why he goes to the movies. I'm just trying to think that there are several other ones that have come out recently where they're sort of biopics. Does The Irishman kind of fall under that category? Maybe not. I don't know. This Fabelmans is definitely that.
Sure.
The weird thing about it is it's like basically a biopic of Steven Spielberg. I know he like changed the names, and I don't think all of it's 100% accurate, but I I don't know. It's a genre movie that's just picked up in the last few years.
So were you asking me why it was on my want to watch list, or are you asking why it wasn't higher?
Why isn't it higher? It's Spielberg. It's his life story. Like, why isn't this in it? This movie didn't do very well. I mean, it didn't do well in the theaters. It's not. I don't think it's going to win Best Picture. Like, it's going to be forgotten in his like catalog of movies.
Oh well, that's already kind of a dead giveaway.
Don't you think?
Sure.
Sure. I really liked it. I actually really enjoyed it.
I think this is part of some of my issues, especially early on, is I don't think I found Spielberg's childhood and why he loves movies all that interesting, and I don't think it's all that interesting of a narrative. Like, somebody finds their way to movies and they get really into them. That's not interesting to me. Like, and whenever there's shots of
Licorice Pizza is another, like, it's kind of his childhood, right? I mean, it's kind of like
okay. That's just not a super exciting thing. I mean, whenever I think of movies where we see like a character, even if it's like a fictional character, watching a movie and getting really excited about movies, that's not usually very interesting to me. I'd rather just like watch the movie that the character's watching, which is, a movie, and it isn't like, oh boy, gee, aren't movies great? And look at how transformative that isn't. I don't think super interesting to most people. Maybe hardcore film nerds. I don't really know. I mean, certainly this isn't. Spielberg is past his prime. That's not really an unfair thing to say. This feels like a movie that's probably more fun for Spielberg to direct than it is for audiences to watch. Especially early on, I was like, man, I'm really way less interested in Spielberg's childhood than he is. I was like, man, I am just not interested. Like, I'm not mad. It's not poorly made. That's weird. I think I should probably like it more because I think Paul Dano's great. I think Michelle Williams is great. The kids did a pretty excellent job. I don't think there's any bad performances, save maybe Seth Rogen, and even then, I don't think that's the performance's fault. I think
the worst part of this movie are Dano and Michelle Williams. I think they are both like almost bad, like almost like legit bad. They're so sappy and this movie's sappy and sentimental already, but like,
well, that's true.
They lay it on in a way that, like, I found like kind of off-putting. I don't know.
So you really like the movie, but you think the two leads, other than Spielberg himself,
the lead is the kid. The lead is the kid.
I just said other than the kid, the two characters we see the most. You found them almost just. It sounds like you didn't like any of their scenes together.
No, I didn't. I really didn't.
And that's a lot of scenes. I get Spielberg has more scenes for himself, but that's a lot of scenes in a movie you think is really good. Interesting.
The movie's two and a half hours long. It's way too long, and I think that there's too much of his parents in it, and that's the problem I have with the movie. Like, it's really coming off like I hated this movie. I really enjoyed.
I'm seeing. So what did you like about it?
I'm a kid who made movies as a kid. Like, we got a camcorder one year for Christmas, and we would make these stupid.
Can I see any of these Peter and Eric Lane?
I don't
joints?
know. They may exist on. Well, they existed on the camcorder tapes, and then we would transfer them to VHSs. Some of them we transferred. Some of them got taped over.
If you find them, I will pay to transfer them to DVD or digitize them or whatever.
But we made like I said, like monster. We made like martial arts fight. We made like a Crow ripoff movie. Like, we made all.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so edgy.
Yeah. It's terrible. These are terrible movies. Like,
so I think what you're suggesting is maybe the scenes where he's making movies.
I absolutely love
are the best parts of the movie, which is true.
1,000%. And like the technical, like how he figured out how to do the gun blast on the Western movie, like by putting punching a hole in the film so it flashes, like, awesome. Like, that was so cool. Like, I really loved that part of it.
Seeing how movies are made and seeing the process making movies is way more interesting and fun to watch than a character watching.
Especially for like a kid with his friends, like how he did it in a cool way and was like really good at it.
Well, obviously, he's Spielberg. He was really, you see him directing and giving the kid acting advice about the war movie he's shooting. And how difficult, especially back then.
John Williams is scoring his little movies too, which is also pretty cool. That's like a cool little touch to it.
Sure, and I like seeing how difficult it was to make movies. I mean, it's pretty easy really to make a movie. Nowadays, you and I could shoot a movie. I'm not saying it'd be good.
The editing that he had to go through, like literally cut the film and
there's free editing software. Yeah, he had to put them and make tabs and keep track and stay super organized. and make sure everything's spliced together. All that stuff is great, and it's one of those things that I like in just about any movie. So I don't know if you've ever seen this movie. It's not a good movie. I'm not really recommending it, but Be Kind, Rewind. Did you ever see that movie, Eric?
Is that Jack Black? Is he
Jack Black and Danny Glover's in it.
Mos Def or something like that. Is he in that too?
Yeah, Mos Def is in it.
Yeah.
And then that's a movie that's mostly bad. It's about like a movie store that goes out of business, or
and they make the like tapes or something like that.
They make versions of the actual movies to like replace the ones that they erased or whatever. I don't remember how it happens. So they do like a Ghostbusters movie.
Yep.
And those are the sweet, fun parts, is those sequences where they shot that. Everything else was just kind of totally boring and dull. But seeing them try to recreate their favorite movies, very low, but that's really entertaining. And I've got a friend him and his brothers, they made a Lord of the Rings. Like, they tried to recreate Lord of the Rings. It's just three brothers.
Scene for scene?
Well, no, they had to make editorial decisions, Eric. They didn't get everything. It wasn't like a 9-hour-long epic. But one of the brothers was like a Gimli, and the youngest brother was an orc, and every orc that was killed was the youngest brother.
Oh, yeah.
And it was wonderful. They just kept killing him.
We would do like bad guys were fighting bad guys, and one friend would leave the camera and come back around and like put a hat on, and then it's the same guy. Oh, we did the exact same thing.
Yeah, and you just the horrible overacting and the silliness.
But like where he kills the friends, they all run and then lay down so the camera.
Well, that's a clever way of doing it, because he times it, he coordinates it, and it makes it look like there's more people than is actually there.
It's brilliant.
He's a genius. My friend didn't do that. Obviously, they would just show the one guy dying, and then there'll just be another scene where he's an orc, and then he dies in a different way.
When we did it, was like we never had someone who was like the director, or we never had somebody who like wrote scripts. Like that was we're just like dumb 4th, 5th graders. You know what I mean? Like we had no idea what we were doing, but like to have the like wherewithal to like I'm the director of the movie, and I'm gonna tell people where to go and what to do, and like that obviously makes for a better movie than just a bunch of kids running around being stupid.
Well, obviously he's a genius filmmaker, so everybody recognizes that pretty early on. Like,
not his fucking dad.
His dad thinks he's good. He just doesn't think there's money in it. He doesn't.
What an absolute like terrible take. If you're Spielberg's dad and you're like, hey, how about you stop this movie thing? Like, why don't you try something?
That's in hindsight. I mean, how many kids have gone out?
Dude. That's like Michael Jordan's dad being like, you sure you want to play basketball?
Michael Jordan didn't play basketball until he was in high school.
No, he did. He just didn't make his varsity team his freshman year.
Oh, okay. Well, that's because he sucks. Overrated. Whatever. I mean, I don't think it's that crazy for a father in like the late 50s and 60s to be like that's
after
absurd.
Having seen the shit that he made, and any dad would be like, this is awesome. Like, unless you're a bad dad. I
doubt that's the case. I think there's a lot of famous people, and clearly in Spielberg's case, it actually happened. I think there's a lot of this. There's not a career in it. There are probably a lot of people who wanted to be directors and were encouraged, and they flamed out. I mean, his dad didn't recognize that, okay, he's one of the best directors of the, next whatever you're going to say the block is from 1970, next 60 years or
almost
whatever.
Implausible to like think that you would watch that and have your kid do all this and be like, no, why don't you not do that? And like, why don't you edit this thing for your mom? Like, because she needs it. Like, don't make a movie with your friends, even though you had like 40 people ready and sets all figured out. And you're like you're upset that he wanted his son to make a movie for his mom? Yeah, that really pissed me off. Yeah.
That's so bizarre. I really don't think you like this movie. It seemed in line with who Paul Dano's character was. He's concrete. He doesn't have any room for art and abstraction, and movies are fun, but they're silly novelties. They're trivialities.
I don't know. I really didn't like his character. Yeah.
This guy that helped build computers is a dipshit.
Is that really? That was
I don't know.
Question about was how much of this is true. Yeah, how much of this was true? I had that question the whole time I was watching.
Sure. I mean, I was going to Google it, and then I just didn't. But I mean, if his dad was like one of the preeminent computer people, I don't know.
Because he did move to Phoenix. I know that's like part of E.T., right? Like that's the other kind of cool thing is like a lot of the stuff with him as a kid you could see in his movies later on. I found that kind of interesting. The divorce, all that, and the family splitting apart.
I don't know. I think that was probably true. I don't know. I'm trying to.
And the other, you mentioned Seth Rogen, like his character, the whole movie, I was like, what the fuck is going on with this guy? Like, he's just like there all the time. He's like, is that his brother? And then I was like, no, it's not his brother. It's just their friends and they work together. I was like, what is happening? This guy's just like at their family dinners and there all the time, and then like moves with him. And then his wife's mad that he didn't get him a job. I was like, what is happening? I mean, obviously you learn that they had a relationship, but
that seemed pretty obvious from the get-go. Like, this is a very weird relationship.
But then didn't Michelle Williams even say, like, I never let it get that far, like, where they would do anything other than hold hands or something?
Well, all she says, the line we get is, I don't think it ever got as far as you imagined it did.
Right.
Which is vague.
What does that mean? They
probably didn't have actual intercourse. The penis probably didn't go in the vagina.
Well, if I'm that kid, is Seth Rogen my dad? Like, what's going on here? Like,
well, I mean, the relationship was weird, but I thought Seth Rogen's.
Hold on a second. Okay. In what universe in reality would that be the case where they never fucked? That's an impossibility. That this guy hung around and she's obviously in love with him and not Paul Dano, but they didn't have sex. That's crazy. That would be insane, right? No? Am I wrong about that?
Well, did it really happen? That's the thing. I assume that's not made up. That, there's this family friend that was very close to him and his family that turned out to be like Mary's mom after his mom and dad got divorced. I assume that's true, Eric. Obviously, it looks weird, like.
But then they fucked the whole time. Then there's no way.
Okay, that's fine. You can disagree. You can think Spielberg's delusional. I don't really care. That's not very interesting to me. I just found Seth Rogen's character super annoying. It's like he's the classic guy who's supposedly funny and is never funny. Like everything he says is just not funny to me.
Not a big Seth Rogen guy, huh?
No, not Seth Rogen as an actor. I'm talking about the character he played in this movie here.
I thought he was charming. Goodness. He added a lot of charm to the movie.
I found him grating. I didn't think he was funny slightly.
The keyboard, the fingernails on the keyboard, when I was watching that, I was like, holy shit, you can hear her fingernails. I was like, what a cool detail that he put that in there. And then after a second, I was like, that's actually kind of annoying. You're hearing her fingernails on the keys. And then Seth Rogen makes this big joke about hearing her fingernails. I don't know. I thought it was
And then he's silly, and they capture her, and they force her to get her fingernails trimmed. Oh my God, he's so silly. It's so silly. Such a silly. He sings silly songs. He does silly stuff. He swings people on trees. He's so silly. What a silly, funny guy. I found him grating. I was like, man, I didn't laugh once at anything he said or did. I was like, oh. Okay. He was like to me like Uncle Joey on Full House. Like,
who didn't love Uncle Joey?
As a 4-year-old or whatever, when that show came on, I loved it. And then I'm like, this guy is at best corny, at worst just profoundly unfunny. Like, would you really watch Full House and laugh at anything Uncle Joey did?
No, not now.
As an adult. Well, that to me, that's my whole point. Like, I aged out of the adult acting silly is therefore funny phase of my life. That's over.
I'm an adult that acts silly sometimes, so.
I act silly too, but I don't expect other adults to laugh at it. I don't think it's going to be entertaining. I act silly for my kids mostly, or to annoy friends who despise silliness. That's fine, but I'm not a kid. I'm not the target audience. I'm not the Fabelmans children.
Are you going to act silly on your podcast? Is that happening?
Never once. I take this deathly seriously. So it's interesting. And so you're mad. You're mad at Steven Spielberg's dad for not encouraging him enough to become a director. That's really funny.
No, yes, but I'm saying it's like an all-time miss. It's an all-time dad miss.
Sure, he was wrong.
If your kid is fucking Steven Spielberg and you're trying to tell him to not make movies, that's an all-time. That's a parenting fail of epic proportions. Like, what if he listened to his goddamn dad, never made movies? You'd never have Jurassic Park, like, or E.T. or Close Encounters. Like you would have.
Eric, think of all the great movies that didn't get made because their shitty fathers. People told them not to make movies and they never made them.
That could be true. Yeah, but. We have an example of one where his dad tried to tell him not to do it, and we almost lost out on all this great stuff.
I don't know that we were that close to losing out. I think he was always going to make movies, even if he said he'd given it up. He was going to go back to it. I'm not convinced that his father really would have impacted him at all to not watch movies or to make movies, but that's fine. To me, he's wrong, and it can be an all-time blunder, but he's wrong in a way that's obvious that a lot of parents would be wrong. A lot of parents would be like, I think you should do. I mean, they're like comedians who make a shitload of money, and their parents will still be like, you could go to law school.
Quentin Tarantino. His mom didn't want him to keep writing. She was like, quit doing this writing stuff. It's stupid.
It's an obvious, and it's not a shock to me that he would think this is just like a silly thing.
To the point where I think Quentin Tarantino has never given his mom money, like ever.
Okay.
I heard somewhere that like because all the money he made writing, she told him he should stop doing it, so he hasn't given her any money.
Okay, whatever. I mean, that's fine. That's
psychotic, but.
Well, okay. Well, yeah, artists are also kind of deeply insecure people sometimes, and they what drives them there's some deep rooted stuff that drives people to do this kind of stuff. But whatever. It's obvious it's wrong. He tried to keep us from having Spielberg. What a jerk! What an idiot! But he's wrong in a way that a lot of parents would be wrong. I don't think it's that shocking. To you, it's obvious how talented he is, and that he was going to go on to be a very successful director, and his dad should have known it.
What if
he'd be a great director?
What if your kid was like, "Hey, Dad, look at what I did," and showed you that fucking movie? Wouldn't you just be like beyond blown away and impressed and proud?
Yeah, but I'm also not Paul Dano's character. I'm not.
Yeah, you're not an asshole. You're not a.
But there are a lot of
asshole.
parents that are like that. I would say, hey, you can try to make movies. Great. Have a backup plan. It might not work out. I mean, you got to work hard. You probably need a little bit of luck.
Oh, so you're on the defense there. You're going to tell your kids to not go for it. Hedge.
No, I said
settle.
Always hedge. Hedging is just a smart thing to do generally. So what would you say? Your daughter wants to direct movies. Do it. Don't do anything else. Just focus on that goal. Screw everything else.
Let's move to Hollywood. Let's go today.
You're going to go with them?
Hell yeah.
You're going to move to Hollywood? And your whole family's moving?
Yeah.
The other daughter's moving too?
I'm going to take the monkey with me.
Okay. Okay. I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't be like disappointed. I wouldn't say we should do something else.
If my daughter was like, I want to try to be an actor, I would say, okay, for the summer, let's move out and see if you can get a part, go to auditions, and let's try it.
And what if she didn't get it? And then you say move on, or let's go every summer for the next 20 years. That's what you're doing?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So she's going to be, in her 30s, and you're going to be taking her to auditions, and okay. Yep. That gets creepy and weird and codependent. At some point, you got to be like, hey, you're trying this. Good luck.
Well, at that point, you do it. If she's older than 18, then she moves out to LA and does it herself as an adult.
Okay. And if she just keeps needing money to live in LA, you're going to keep giving her money. It's like, Dad, you're just going to, here you go. Never ends.
Yep.
Here you go. It's going to happen someday for you, baby.
And then she'll be a big star and she'll buy me a house. And I'll be like, see, I told you.
And if she just lives in very expensive LA and you just fund her life for a decade and she never gets any parts
this
or any parts.
This is a very weird scenario. My kid's 9 years old. Well,
you asked me. You started this conversation, bub. Like, what would you do if your kid said they wanted to be a director? I said, great, go for it. I mean, have some alternatives, figure it out.
No, I'm big on being a supportive parent, and he was a terrible parent and not supportive at all, and it frustrated me.
No, that's fine. I think it's a pretty standard parent. You need to do something concrete that's reliable and safe and secure and real. And he thinks movies are fanciful. I think it was
even though he takes. That's the other part that didn't make sense to me is he takes this kid to the movies, right? That we see it in the beginning. Of this like mind blown by the train thing. Have you seen that movie, by the way?
I've seen The Greatest Show on Earth, the best picture winner of 1952.
Okay.
Yes, I've seen it.
A crazy that train crash was like, whoa, holy crap! I didn't expect that. Anyways. But so he knows that like movies are a huge thing, right? There's hundreds of people in the theater. They're all wearing suits watching this thing. It's like that is like a real thing, and people are showing up and paying money. It's a business. You can make money doing it. Like to not realize like, well, maybe this should just be the science of it too, that he didn't realize there was so much in building the equipment and doing the same thing he's doing with his computers is the same thing Spielberg was doing. It was just he was making movies at the same time. It just seemed weird that he didn't make that connection, that like there's schools to be experts in computers. Like you can go to college, which Spielberg did, right? Didn't he go to like USC or UCLA or something like that?
Yeah, one of those. Yeah, lived with his dad for a little while and then dropped out. Yeah. I mean it's fine. You can hate Paul Dano's character as much as you like. I don't care.
Maybe what we're learning is I'm not the giant Paul Dano guy. because I didn't love him in There Will Be Blood. That was my biggest complaint about that.
Oh, see,
maybe I'm just not in the Paul Dano bandwagon.
Perhaps. I mean, I thought he was very good in this movie. But
Michelle Williams she's in Venom, right? And that movie's awful, and she's awful in that. Maybe I'm not just. Maybe I think both of them are not very good actors.
Maybe. I mean, judging her for Venom, in which I'm sure she was.
What is Michelle Williams good in? Like, name a movie.
Not a movie that you're gonna like. She's not gonna be in any. What's that? I think Blue Valentine she's great in, but you're not gonna like her in it. She plays a lot of sad characters who are crying and upset and not enjoying life.
Manchester by the Sea is
I've not seen it, but I think that's probably a very depressing movie.
She's pretty. I mean, she's good in that, but that is one of the most depressing movies I have ever seen.
I think she's good in this movie. I don't know that I like her character, but there's a difference, right? You're pissed off at Paul Dano, but he's reading what's in the script.
But how he does it, there's this like.
He has to be a bit of a jerk and a bit of a douche. That's what the script calls for. You think he slipped that by Spielberg? Spielberg didn't want that performance out of him?
Name a Paul Dano performance where he isn't like that. He's always like that.
Always like what?
He's kind of a dick. He's kind of a jerk. He's smug and like kind of off-putting and just annoying.
I don't think he's off-putting in Little Miss Sunshine. But some of that's just the kind of roles he's getting. He's supposed to be off-putting in There Will Be Blood. He's supposed to be off-putting in the Batman movie as the villain. He's supposed to be off-putting in Looper. These are characters that are supposed
Looper's
to be
another example. He's such an annoying piece of shit in that movie.
He's not off-putting in Love and Mercy, the Brian Wilson movie, I don't think. Maybe
I've never seen that.
He plays a young Brian Wilson, and he's very likable.
I've heard that's a good movie. I've never seen that.
But you're kind of judging him for these roles where he's supposed to play guys who are obnoxious and unlikable.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I have to rethink.
I think he's a good actor. I don't know. It's weird that you're projecting a lot of stuff on the characters onto him as a person. That's weird to me. I don't really get that. And if he's playing people who are... I mean, his character isn't supposed to be like, well, he takes Steven Spielberg
what
to
I'm
the
saying
movies,
is I don't think
and he
I like...
describes how movies works. Oh, it's a series of images. He explains the persistence of motion, and this is what's working. And it's flickering this light, and he describes it. And he's even impressed after the first movie, but he doesn't take away that movies are great. He's like, oh, I looked at my son's organizational skills, his leadership skills, how he had to plan and like lead this whole situation, and he had to have foresight and set goals. That's what I value and I think is really, really great. And not, oh, you created this magic. But that's what
being a director is. Like, why would you not then push him towards that?
But he wants those skills directed towards something more concrete. But it doesn't matter.
Like making IBMs?
Sure. Making computers or making some other things or some other corporate leadership, or it's fine. His character's wrong. His character's supposed to be wrong. Obviously,
why are you defending him? I don't know. This is so weird. We're having a 20-minute debate about you defending.
I just don't think he's wrong in a way. Well, I don't think it's Paul Dano's fault that the father is wrong. I don't think it's that. I don't know why you're so upset that his father is wrong. I don't know.
All right.
Okay. Boo-hoo.
At the ending of the movie, can we spoil it? Talk about the ending of the movie, the last scene.
Go.
I really liked it. The John Ford. David Lynch's John Ford. I really liked it. I thought it was great. I loved the speech he gave him about the horizons. You know, what's that picture? And, I don't know. It's a bunch of soldiers. No, where's the horizon? It's at the top. And then look at the other one. What's going on here? Oh, no, see, they're looking this way. No, where's the horizon? It's at the bottom. And he's like, horizon at the bottom's interesting. Horizon at the top's interesting. Horizon in the middle is boring. Now get the fuck out of my office. I loved it. It's great. Great way to end the movie.
Sure.
I've heard some people don't like it and have criticized it a bit, but...
Well, I have no idea how accurate it is. I don't know if that's really happened to him when he was in Hollywood in the mid-'60s. But it was a nice wrap.
I actually watched The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance because of that scene.
Oh, I'm very happy. I love The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Did you find it old and boring and dumb?
It was a little boring, and it's definitely old, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. Yeah, I don't love John Wayne that much, but I love the whole aspect of bringing law to the West. Like, I thought that was really interesting.
Sure, that's what
as
a lot
a former lawman myself,
That's a lot of John Ford movies are about the so-called taming of the West and bringing civilization to an uncivil place. But I liked it. I don't think I hated it or loved it. It was like, oh, it's kind of cute. Oh, he's coming in. He's got a bunch of lipstick on his face, and his receptionist or whatever has to come in and wipe the lipstick off of his face, and he's just kind of a jerk to this like 19-year-old kid. That's fine. It was sweet.
But has there ever been like a biopic about a filmmaker, like a movie director, made by the movie director? Like it got to be a one-on-one.
That's the caveat that I have no idea. I mean, there was the Chaplin movie, and Charlie Chaplin was the director of Charlie Chaplin movies, but he didn't direct that. Right. That was like somebody else. So yeah, and if I scratch my head, we could probably find some movies maybe.
I mean, there's like documentaries, certainly documentaries about making of films and stuff.
No, this is very, very weird. It is oddly self-aggrandizing. And I guess that makes it slightly off-putting. Like, you're already Steven Spielberg, we already know you're amazing, and then you just talk about how you were always amazing. And I guess that how films helped you cope with reality and process reality. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the
I kind of figured that.
The Sammy character, who I mean is my favorite part, is that character. Like, I love that kid. He was great. But, like, he's also, like, perfect. You know what I mean? Like, he's doing everything he can. He's keeping his family together. I mean, he's a little bit there's a little bit about that. Is he being selfish? His sister kind of says that to him, that he's as selfish as their mom is. But, like, he's also just, like, you know, he's like Marty McFly in this movie. He's just like a cool kid who just wants to make movies with his friends.
Yeah. Yeah, he was likable enough in the performance. It was fine. I don't know. So can we talk about the other parent? We talk about Michelle Williams. She didn't like her performance either. She's supportive, so good for her. She didn't discourage him from making movies.
She was a psychotic parent, though. Taking your kids to drive towards a tornado is like, that's lunacy. You should lose your children for doing something like that. Like, literally, to call social services, because that is crazy.
Okay.
But, like, she's a terrible parent. Like, that's awful parenting.
So who's the worst parent then? Telling your son, who's Steven Spielberg, to not direct movies?
Well, she supported him. I guess, you know, she put them in danger, which I think is what Spielberg was trying to say, is like his mom could be dangerous.
What if Steven Spielberg got killed in the tornado because his mom drove into a tornado, and then you don't get Jaws or Jurassic Park either? Okay. Yeah, I just didn't find her particularly likable.
No.
Again, I don't think this is Michelle Williams' fault. This is where it was less defending the character, she's also not funny and likable, and she's dancing and when they go camping in Phoenix somewhere, and she's dancing by the headlights.
With Seth Rogen just hanging out with them, just like nobody, like that. None of the kids were like, "Dad, what's with this guy? Like, why is he out?" No other families have this other guy hanging out. Like, he's not your brother. He's not her brother. Like, why is he always here? Nobody asked him that. He never asked himself. Paul Dano was never like, "Honey, what's the deal? What's going on with you and him?" That never came up. So weird. I think
he's just a pushover. I mean, we hear from Michelle Williams that he just wants her to be happy. So having this guy around, he's always known
It's like Biff. Biff was just always at their house. Like, Biff
was at least like a bully and coerced his way. I mean, this is with Paul Dano's consent, at least, if not out-and-out encouragement. Yeah, it's a weird relationship.
Yeah, he was getting him jobs. He was getting him jobs and taking them with to like other.
Well, he knew, like, all right, if my wife's gonna be miserable if I don't get him a job. I'm gonna have to fight my wife. It's gonna suck.
Why is his wife miserable? Because Seth Rogen's not there to bang her, so she's lonely, and like, you know, it's so weird. Like, I was just.
She has to be with this guy who's apparently a genius and also really cold and emotionless and has no tolerance for anything that's flighty or superficial, including movies, Eric. And so that's really hard because everybody tells her how great her husband is, but then he doesn't like anything about her, but he wants her to be happy, but he also doesn't value the things she values. I don't know. Their relationship's weird. I didn't really care about it either. It was I understand.
Did his dad like lose his job? Because in the end, he's in some tiny little apartment with his dad. Like, what's the story there?
I don't know. Split up. I don't know if he just didn't want a whole house because the kids were going to just live in Phoenix, I assumed. and he's just going to take the apartment, or he has an apartment plus the house. The apartment's like a middle spot so that Steven Spielberg can go to school. I don't know. I mean, I don't know exactly. I don't think he lost his job, but I guess you could.
Were they trying to say like ultimately his dad ended up being like kind of a failure after everything? You know.
I didn't get that vibe at all. I thought there was just some.
It's a choice to have him be in this tiny apartment and not some mansion.
Well, he did that for his wife. His wife moved back to Phoenix, and they live in a house somewhere. And maybe he still has that house that they moved to. And
so
built, or maybe
hold on a second. Time out. So
he's definitely paying for the house.
Paying his wife to live with
alimony.
Seth Rogen.
Oh, I'm sure he was paying alimony. You think he wasn't? You think he wasn't paying spousal support?
No, he probably was, but at some point you got to calculate Seth Rogen once they got married. Once they got married, he doesn't have to pay alimony anymore. Once she gets married to another man, he has no alimony obligations.
Sure.
But you think he's still paying? He's paying her and Seth Rogen to live together.
It hadn't been that long. I don't know if they had gotten married at that point. I have no idea, but I didn't get the impression.
All-time cuck Paul Dano is in this movie. He's an all-time cuckold. This is what we're saying.
Doesn't that make you happy?
No, that bums me out, man. As just a man, that bums me out.
Okay, well, yeah, his wife loses it. I mean, we even talked about how she buys a monkey. Oh goodness, like that's so insane. Is that a thing you could just get?
Where do you get a monkey?
LA, yeah, just buy one. Did they have them at pet
I think she said at the zoo. She got it from the zoo.
So she just went to the zoo and said, I'll buy a monkey?
Yeah.
And they're like, well,
any monkeys for sale?
Okay, white lady, sure. Anything for you. That's so bizarre. The monkey's just jumping around. I mean, he is a cuck, though. I mean, that's the thing. Like, he doesn't even stand his ground with the monkey. He's not even like, we're getting rid of this monkey. Let's say, Eric, you have to go into the office for work and you come back. And your wife has purchased a monkey. Are you just going to say, okay?
And name it off after the guy that she used to sleep with.
Are you just going to be like, all right, that's fine, honey. I'll roll with this new life while we're buying monkey food. You're going to have a lot of fighting. You're going to have a lot of tension in your marriage. It's going to be very tense.
It's so crazy. Like, it's just bonkers that's in this movie.
Yeah. And he takes it. And she says, like, even when she snaps at him and says, like, go mess with the antenna, he does it.
Yeah, she gets mad at him.
Yeah, all the time.
Crazy.
And I guess it sucks that he tried to deprive us of Spielberg, the filmmaker, but he...
You're making me like this movie less now that we're talking about it.
You said the only thing that you've been really... You really like the ending. And you like the scenes where Spielberg's making movies.
That's the whole movie, though.
That isn't the whole movie.
It's like 70% of the movie.
The ending of the movie is like 3 or 4 minutes long, where he meets John Ford, and then the scenes where he's shooting a movie, that's probably like 15 minutes.
No, I meant the stuff as him as a kid. All of the stuff as Spielberg as a kid.
Anything with him as a kid. Yeah. Okay. A lot of first of all, him as a little kid, it didn't register for me at all.
The little kid was kind of cool. I mean, how he made the train thing was kind of cool.
I get it. Oh, he's recreating stuff. He's gaining a sense of control. Oh, this is why he's got fathers missing from all of his movies, right? This is why there's like absentee parents all the time or whatever. Fine. I kind of figured that. I mean, I've seen quite a few Spielberg movies in my life. It's a sort of a running theme, but fine. And the stuff in high school is sort of whatever. I mean, so it works. Although the scene, like, I don't know what stuff.
Yeah.
You don't love it. You're like, it's okay. There's some stuff that's okay, but it's also,
we didn't need a bully situation in this movie. Just didn't.
But I'm sure that really happened. He's trying to work through. Yeah. There's some psychotic guy, and we also get the power of film. Like, he ultimately convinces that guy at the end. By making him look like a superstar in the yearbook or in the end of year video, but even then, like the relationship with the very, very bizarre Christian.
Yeah.
What were you thinking when that scene happened? I was baffled.
Just why? Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so confused by this. Is it supposed to be funny? I guess if it actually happened, it actually happened. But I'm so confused by her sexual attraction to Jesus. It was so baffling to me that the whole...
Maybe that's a thing. I don't know.
maybe, but it was still baffling to me. You see her room, and they pray, and it's so bizarre, and I was like, man, I don't know what to make of this even slightly. I am so flummoxed by this whole situation. Because even then, scenes where, I mean, the kids not dealing with family drama are, I mean, it's a lot of him dealing with family drama or high school drama. We get some of the movie making stuff, which is great. I guess even the train stuff is okay. Yeah, like he's just trying to recreate the train and seeing him as a little kid making movies. Okay, that's fun.
Yeah, I think there's like a 90-minute, like really, really, really good movie in this like 2.5-hour movie.
Which is just him making movies. Like, here's Spielberg making movies from his childhood. What's the narrative?
You know what I thought? Actually, I had this thought. Is if it was like a Peanuts situation where you never saw the parents and they just went wah 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 wah, and it was just the kid and his life. I think that's a better movie.
That movie is, your version is never getting made. Steven Spielberg. Why would he want to make a movie where he ignores this like foundational event from his life?
Well, it's like we get it. His mom's the artist. His dad's a scientist. They fought. Like, okay, we get it. Like, we don't need 2 hours of that.
You know, like the scene where he showed his mom. She made it possible for him to film the train, right? She was always supportive. And then in that same closet where they watched the train footage, he showed the footage where he's like, I know about you and Benny.
No, I didn't like that at all.
That was the moment where like Michelle Williams sold me on the role, even if I didn't like her character. Because if you see, she gets in the closet.
How does she not know that people know? It's so implausible. Like, she's like, wait, you think other people might know that there's something going? It's like, yeah, bitch, you have been hanging out with this guy for 20 years.
You talked about how she has some mental health problems, right? She drives her kids to the tornado. She has all these problems. She thought she was getting away with it, Eric. She was wrong. She thought she was getting away with it.
That's implausible.
This is the moment she sold me exactly on the performance. The clip starts to play, and it's footage of camping. And at first she's got this like slight smile on her face. She's like, oh, I love watching these movies and this camping trip was fun. And then it just keeps cutting to Seth Rogen and her. And then you see it dawn on her face and she's like, her face switches and it drops. The color goes straight from her face and she starts to, oh God, like realize and cries and is upset and understands that he knows now.
I mean, I'm sure there are kids that have caught their parents cheating, right? Like that's
of course.
And I think that's what he's trying to show is like that. What does that do to a kid who finds out like, oh my God,
that
I
is. He's explaining why he's so upset, and he can't say with words. He has to say it through film.
In a situation where like you came home from school one day and your parent was cheating, you're like, who is this guy? Like, what's going on? Like. That's different than this guy who was literally always at their house for Christmases and gatherings and moved when you moved. Like, why would you ever be shocked that your mom was cheating on this guy? You'd be like, yeah, Mom, we all knew you. This dude is with.
I don't know. I think whatever. I can provide a little bit of empathy that you think is implausible because you would have in a similar situation, but I think it would not be. Especially when he didn't actually see them having sex and it was just through editing the film footage when he started piecing together. I don't think you would assume that your parent is having an extramarital affair when you're 15 or 16 or in the 60s. But if that's completely implausible to you, add another strike against this movie and a strike against Spielberg's childhood. If that's what actually happened. That's what's funny to me is all this stuff I think actually happened. So you can think people are stupid or wrong, but clearly,
Well, he didn't write the movie. Tony Kushner did, the guy that wrote Lincoln.
But he told his life story to Tony Kushner.
Yeah, but does he embellish things or change the story to make it more interesting and more cinematic?
Maybe, but you also could be saying this is ridiculous. Everybody would know. I can't believe she'd be surprised. What if she was surprised, Eric? Does that change anything in your brain? That it's possible?
It makes me think even less of her and all of his family. That this was some revelation.
Speaking of family, what about her uncle, the guy who's he's in Independence Day and a bunch of stuff.
Another unnecessary scene.
It features the son, but you didn't like it. You didn't like the weird.
It was. I think it showed about like, so we were talking about the art thing about, do you commit to it? Do you give everything you have to it? Do you drive your kid to Los Angeles and have them go to auditions over and over again? even if it does destroy the rest of your life. You know, that kind of idea of giving everything you have to it. Or can you have a family and also make art? I don't know. It was kind of interesting. I guess I didn't hate that part.
But you didn't love it either. It's just like, it was just there. It just happened.
It's a bit much. I don't know. That was kind of part of the movie where it's like, when is this ever going to end? This is just dragging. I give it 4 stars.
You said a lot of bad things about this movie.
I'll give it 4 stars. I give it 4 stars.
That's hilarious. I mean, I guess we're jumping into...
yeah.
So funny. I give this one 3 stars. I was most happy when I saw filmmaking Steven Spielberg. And then
that's the thing we're not is like he's amazing at making movies. That's also the piece we're not talking about. Is like Steven Spielberg is like the greatest ever at just like staging things and showing you things and filming things. Like there's really nobody better than him, I don't think. So that's a big part of it for me is like this is the greatest guy to ever make movies about him starting to make movies. Like how can I not love that?
Well, I mean, from my point of view, I liked it, but I didn't love it. It's just the honest answer. I mean, I did kept thinking, like, especially in the high school scenes, like, oh, in like a decade, this dweeb's going to direct Jaws. Good Lord. That's crazy. Oh, man, I can't imagine. Like, he was just at some point just a high school kid that was just, I mean, he was just a high school kid living his life being bullied. Like, it's just crazy before he became the greatest director ever or whatever. It was just that part's mind blowing, but it wasn't as interesting to me as just him making a movie about something else and putting a little bits of his life or feelings into the narrative. It's like, hey, okay, it's fine. I love the scenes where you're making movies. I like some of the stuff, but the art versus science, this tension between loving and respecting your family and using them for art or ignoring them or having a personal life or how much you... Okay. We know it turned out well for filmmaking. I assume Spielberg's had a happy life. Maybe he's been miserable. I don't know. Maybe he's only happy when he's making movies. I don't know. But it was like, I was really kind of bored for the first act. I was like, I really didn't care about him as a little kid. Like, okay, you went to a movie and you had to cope with it. You started making movies and it helped you process reality. You got really into movies and you were fixated on them and you really understood how to do them. Cool. And then your parents have this very bizarre relationship, which if I had to deal with that, that'd be complicated. If I were a teenager and I had like my mom's side piece lived with us, basically, yeah, that would mess with my head, Eric. I would have a hard time coping with that. That would be a weird thing to grasp. But it wasn't interesting to me to watch. I didn't, enjoy spending time with the characters, really. I defended Paul Dano and his characters somewhat, but I didn't really enjoy spending time with him. I wasn't like, man, give me more Paul Dano, give me more Michelle Williams. It's like, I didn't care about his personal drama, I guess if I'm supposed to like it more, okay, but it was just like, it's
all
fine.
Right, well, okay, so Best Picture nominees. We got Fabelmans, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, Elvis, Women Talking, Tar, Everything Everywhere All at Once, All Quiet on the Western Front, Banshees of Inisherin, and Avatar: Way of Water. Those are the Best Picture nominees.
Okay.
I have seen all of them except for Triangle of Sadness and Women Talking.
Did you finish Tar?
I rewatched it, yes.
Okay. Any less boring on a second viewing when you're not drinking and hanging out with your brother?
It's much better than... Don't watch that movie at 1 a.m. when you've been drinking all day. Is piece of advice. Didn't love it. Aside from that, I thought there was a few things kind of interesting.
Okay.
My favorite of all of them, the one that I would vote for Best Picture, and again I haven't seen the two others, is All Quiet on the Western Front. That would be my pick for Best Picture. I really liked that movie. But if I was gonna rank them, I'd probably put Top Gun second and this third in terms of my personal Best Picture Oscar rankings.
Well, I want to say, so is it there's 9 total that have been nominated? Is that the total?
10.
Now?
I think it has to be 10. Yeah.
Oh, it has to be 10?
I think it is. The new rule is it has to be 10.
No, see, the rules are always changing. Okay. So then I've only seen 40% of the nominees, so whatever. And I love the Oscars as an absurd event every year that I enjoy watching the nonsense, but I don't really care what gets ranked and nominated.
Even though you've watched every Best Picture winner.
Well, I haven't seen Green Book. That's the only one I haven't seen. It's still weird.
Did you watch Coda? Have you seen Coda?
No, I haven't seen Coda. So yeah,
last year winner.
Yeah, there's two I haven't seen.
But you other than that, you have gone back and you started from the beginning.
I'm grateful for the Best Picture winners. It helped branch me out and seeing different kinds of movies. Helped me watch old movies.
There's some really bad Best Picture winners,
most
right?
of them are pretty bad. I would say most Best Picture winners are at best decent, and a lot of them are not bad, especially older ones. Like, you didn't like Casablanca that much, and Casablanca is, for the first 20 years of the Oscars, it's easily the Best Picture winner, and the one that holds up the most, like, of those, up until you get to the 60s and 70s, really. There's just not much. Maybe Bridge on the River Kwai would work for you. That's 57. So that might speak to you. You seem to resonate. War movies seem to resonate with you. But my favorite, and I'm sure this is probably at the bottom of your list because it's probably too weird and you don't like it. Everything Everywhere All at Once is by far my favorite movie that came out last year.
I figured you would say that.
It was super well shot. It was funny. I laughed a bunch. It actually had heart. The performances were great. I'm sure you didn't like the performances or thought it was too weird.
They were fine. I mean, Michelle Yeoh's great. Like, I watched like a bunch of Jackie Chan movies growing up, and she's in a lot of those. Like, she's awesome. Michelle Yeoh's great. And it's got the guy that played Short Round in Data. Like, how could I not love that? I didn't love the movie that much. I don't know. There's like, she's got like hot dog fingers. Like, what the fuck is that?
See, that to me was so. I bust a gut when that came on.
I don't find that funny at all.
I know it's too weird and nonsensical for you. And it's not because it's like child humor. It takes this concept. If there are all these alternate realities, there could be one where people have hot dog fingers, and you get to see cut-off versions.
Why would you ever even think of that? Like, that's just insane.
Eric, your brain is just so concrete and literal. I love you for it. It's great, but some of us have weird brains that will. Okay, if literally there's a bunch of alternate realities.
You could think of any. It could be any reality, and you come with hot dog fingers, like.
And then we get to see 2001 recreated with hot dog fingers. My God, I lost it. That was one of the most absurdly hilarious, weird ideas I've seen in a long time. It was great. It's just great. I understand. It didn't work.
Have you not seen Top Gun Maverick?
I've seen Top Gun Maverick.
Oh.
I like it better than Fabelmans.
Yeah, I do too.
It's probably it'd be number 2 on of the 4 that I've seen.
It's equally pretty sappy, but like it's amazing.
Those beats land pretty well. It hits all the storytelling beats, I think, in the exact right ratios.
Yeah,
the exact right amounts. It doesn't do too much of any one thing. The action scenes are great.
I actually like Top Gun more than All Quiet on the Western Front. I think it's like I enjoy it more. But if I was gonna vote for the winner of Best Picture, I would pick.
Sure, you think All Quiet on the Western Front has more artistic merit. Even if Top Gun Maverick was more entertaining.
It's an anti-war war movie. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw the one that won Best Picture in 1930. I've seen it.
Sure.
I mean, the filmmaking is, I'm sure, archaic and dull, but it's the same concept. I'm guessing, people hyped to go to war. They had a bunch of propaganda. And it turns out war really sucks ass, especially trench warfare. It's really, really shitty. And starving on the...
Well, and a lot of it's like about the war pigs, the people behind,
of course,
this all and how
who actually benefits from it, and it's miserable. But like Paths of Glory is the best anti-war movie I've ever seen, and
that's mostly like a courtroom drama, though. Like, that's not really a war movie.
Well, fine. You're saying it doesn't show enough action to count as a war movie. That's fine. Whatever. It's the best anti-war movie, even if it's not a war movie. I don't care. It's the best anti-war movie. But anyway, that didn't win Best Picture. They get it wrong way more often.
Neither will All Quiet. I mean, I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to win everything. Like,
oh, you think that's going to win?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't done any research on the odds. Okay. I'd have to look. I don't know. I will see.
What's Tar? Is Tar going to win? That Tar's not going to win shit. Maverick? Top Gun Maverick's going to win?
Top Gun Maverick won't win. Avatar The Way of Water won't win.
No,
Avatar The Way of Water will win Best Visual Effects. I would bet money on that.
Sure, and it should. Like, yeah.
But, no, that won't win. See here.
Elvis, if I was going to rank them, and I love Elvis as a singer-performer, huge fan. That was one of the worst movies I have ever seen. Like, Tom Hanks's accent, the politics, like the story of it is total bullshit, and other than him singing as Elvis, like it's honestly like a laughably bad movie, I think. But that's my opinion on it.
Okay.
Well, all right. I mean, I don't have a whole lot else. I just thought it'd be fun to have a little Oscar talk because that's why I watched this. So we had a little Oscar talk. It was good. A little uninformed Oscar talk. But.
Well, it's fine. I was trying to pull Best Picture odds, and I'm on my work computer, so every single gambling website comes up as blocked. So I can't see the Best Picture odds.
You can bet on that, like FanDuel and stuff. I
sure. Yeah, no, that's what I'm seeing. It's a bunch of websites like that. Yeah, Vegas Insiders. I do think, it looks like maybe Everything Everywhere at Once is one of the favorites, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so you would, despite a lot of strong negative feelings created from watching The Fabelmans, you would recommend people watch The Fabelmans.
Yeah, well, if you made movies as a kid, you'll like it. Like, I suppose that's that weird subset. Like, if I hadn't done that and I had no like emotional connection to that, I probably wouldn't like this movie very much.
Oh wow, okay. So it's really like it just reminded you of making movies with your brother as a kid, and that was friends, a positive, good vibe. Sure,
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it touched me a little bit.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I love those sequences, but I mean, it's just. I think it's fine. I think you'll have an okay time if you watch it. It's a movie like most people can watch and probably not hate, although it is a little bit self-aggrandizing and a little bit look at how great Spielberg is, and I guess look at how dumb his dad was. I don't know. But,
it's also like very sappy. It's a very
it's sappy from the get-go. I didn't laugh once, I don't think. I laughed with the woman the young woman who was sexually attracted to Jesus, because I was just uncomfortable and confused. So I did laugh at that point. Like, what is going on here? My brain does not compute. Oh, but all right. So Eric, you want to take us through your 5 degrees of separation?
Sure. I started with your favorite guy from this movie, Seth Rogen. You just loved him. Loved him so much.
I like Seth Rogen. I think he can be very funny.
His best movie in this role. Best movie, Pineapple Express, I think. I absolutely love Pineapple Express. Danny McBride is in that.
Heard of him.
He's in a movie called Tropic Thunder with Nick Nolte. And Nick Nolte's in a movie I've never seen called Three Fugitives with James Earl Jones, who's in Field of Dreams.
Got Michelle Williams is in The Fabelmans, much to your chagrin.
She's also in Venom 2. You could do Venom 1 or Venom 2.
I've not seen Venom 2. I have seen Venom 1. And that was the first.
She gets the Venom suit in Venom 1, right? Doesn't she become Venom?
For a minute to find him, yes. She chases him down.
What a trash movie.
That's what I needed to unlock it. So Michelle Williams, she's in Blue Valentine with Ryan Gosling. So it's about a marriage in decline, one of those movies where you see a couple and their marriage disintegrates, and there's a lot of screaming and fighting.
She's in a lot of those.
And I know, and those aren't your kind of movies, and I don't think you enjoy those kind of performances. I don't really enjoy them much either. Blue Valentine is good, but it's not a fun watch. I understand something that I didn't understand before. It's like, okay, these are just two quality performances in a depressing movie, and Ryan Gosling's great in it too. But anyway, Ryan Gosling is in Blade Runner 2049.
Killer movie.
You enjoy, yep.
Yeah, love that movie.
And Harrison Ford is in that movie, and Harrison Ford is in Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope with James Earl Jones, who is in.
You could have done Clear and Present Danger too. Harrison Ford's in that, and so is James Earl Jones.
Is James Earl Jones in The Hunt for Red October also? I don't remember.
Yeah, but Harrison Ford isn't.
Oh, you're right. That's right. Okay.
It's a different Jack Ryan. Isn't it Alec Baldwin? Isn't Alec Baldwin?
That's right.
Same character, right. Jack Ryan, but a different actor.
Yes. I'm mixing up my
get your Jack Ryans right.
Political thrillers. But yeah, all right. So it's wide open.
Yeah, you pick the movie here, man.
I'm excited. All right.
Could be anything. Could be anything in the universe of films.
Could be anything. We'll narrow it down. The first way we'll narrow it down. Clue number 1. The year this movie was released, 2013, Eric. A decade ago.
10-year anniversary.
You have it? We eliminated a lot of movies. It's not Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown's not.
It's not Jackie Brown. I know. I'm saying it can't be Jackie Brown because it said 2013. Can't be Inglourious Basterds. So,
okay.
All right. So the co-female lead is played by two different actors. That's clue number 2. The lead character is played by two different female co-lead characters played by two different actors.
They play the same character?
Correct.
Is it like a different age thing? Huh. Weird. Different timelines? Or do they have hot dog fingers too?
But yeah, this is it turns out that Everything Everywhere All at Once was released in 2013, so we're going to talk about that. No, clue number 3. The score was done by Arcade Fire.
I didn't know they did film score.
In Minneapolis once upon a time, and it was an awesome show.
That's after the Suburbs, right? Yeah? No, or is that before Suburbs?
I think they had 3 albums. Well, so they had
Neon.
What was the album after Neon Bible? Was it The Suburbs?
I think so, yeah.
Then I think that album was out. Yes. Maybe even the one after that. I don't know. Anyway. No, I think, it's just the one after Neon Bible in 2013. Anyway. So that's clue number 3. All right. So the director of this movie, let's see here. I want to be exactly right because I know if I get it wrong. The director of this movie co-founded the youth culture magazine Dirt.
Never heard of Dirt.
You never heard of Dirt?
Nope. Is the movie called Mud?
No. I've seen Mud, I think. I think it's a movie.
McConaughey, right? It's been on my list of movies to watch.
It's good. I think you'll like
Nichols, Jeff Nichols or something like that, the filmmaker.
I don't remember the director's name.
This is the guy that made Midnight Express or something like that. With Adam Driver, where the kid has like special powers. It's the same director. I think it's the same guy that made Mud. Never mind. Not Mud. Just Dirt, not Mud.
Okay. Well, that's the name of the magazine. Doesn't it help you? Okay, I'll give you one last clue. All right, so this director has actually worked as an actor sporadically throughout his career. He co-starred in Three Kings, and he appeared in a supporting role in Moneyball and The Wolf of Wall Street.
Is it... Wolf of Wall Street and Moneyball. And an actor from Three Kings.
Well, the director of this movie is the actor in those movies.
Right, yeah.
Got it, okay.
So it's not Clooney, it's not Wahlberg, it's not Ice Cube.
No, he's not one of the literal Three Kings.
But also in Wolf of Wall Street and Moneyball. Jeez, who's in Moneyball and Wolf of Wall Street?
These are all small parts. I mean,
I know. I'm trying to think of like McConaughey's in, but he didn't direct any movies. So it's like an actor turned director. I have no idea. Completely lost. I should know this.
I tried to be more obscure this time. I think it kind of worked. Do you want me to just tell you the name of the movie?
Yeah.
It's Her.
Oh, Spike Jonze, right?
Yes, that's right. That's the director. He did. I could have gone a more skateboarding route and stuff. It would have made it a little more obvious. But yes, he
is in Wolf of Wall Street. He's like when he goes to the penny stocks. He's in the penny stock place. Who is he in Moneyball?
I don't even know. I don't remember. I saw that movie in the theater and haven't seen it since.
Okay, I know you really love Her, so this will be interesting.
This movie I thought a lot about for my top 5. Frankly, I'd only seen it the one time. But it's a movie I think about often, and then with the story about the reporter who, I don't know if you heard that, like ChatGPT, like...
No.
There was a reporter where he was talking to ChatGPT and it tried to get him to leave his wife. It kept telling him that he loved him, and, like, you should leave your wife and be with me, and I want you to love me, and I want to be real. And I was like, all right,
Oh, wow.
But ChatGPT, I got to talk about Her. I haven't seen it. I couldn't put it on my list because I haven't seen it in a long time. It probably holds up, but I just was like, all right. Let's talk about it now. I'm anxious to rewatch it. It's been a decade since I've seen it. So.
All right.
So Her.
Cool.
right.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody.